Welcome to Buddhas in Your Landfill. It's Monday morning and we're ready to pick up our Ariadne's thread, if you remember. But I hope you go back and pick up these talks. I want them to stand alone. I hope they stand alone. But I'm also creating a thread here that we can follow, and it will make more sense if you can go back and pick up the thread from the beginning so we can carry it forward. Just a recap, we're talking about the finding Buddhas in your landfill. And the landfill is everyday mind, and a Buddha is a transformating insight. And we're using the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur in the labyrinth as our mythic story to shape this quest. And we are all, and Theseus is a metaphor for our soul, or the heroic soul who is awakened to start his journey into the labyrinth, to find the Minotaur and kill or remove the pain in his life so he can be free and creative. And so there's two things that Theseus needs. He needs a Dharma thread given to him by Ariadne, the goddess, and he needs the sword of discernment so he can tell the difference between truth and not truth, which we need a lot of today. So that's where we are. We're going to pick up with our little inner guru, which I call our inner GPS. There's two maps now I've mentioned. There's the world, the map that we all believe is real and that we operate in is like an atlas flat map. It's a flat world where I'm here and you're there and that's there, and we have lines and roads going between, and it all exists in space and time. And we're on the map, so we have to move on the map. But the GPS map that we all use when we use our cell phone is a different paradigm. In the GPS map, you are the center of the world, and if you take a step, the world adjusts around you, and no matter where you go, you're still going home once you program that GPS. I've tried that. You can't piss off the guide. You can't piss off the navigator by making wrong turns. She just keeps saying, turn left, turn right, turn left, right? There's no wrongdoing on the GPS map. You're always going home. But on the flat map, you can be wrong, especially if your wife is navigating. Okay, so we're moving into the meaning of the labyrinth, which is a maze or a confusing place where we're always confronted with equal choices. Should I go this way or that? Am I right or am I wrong? Should I go with this person or that? Should I go with this opinion or that? Should I go with me or with you? Should I go with this or that? So the labyrinth is a maze of confusing or conflicting either or choices. And when we can't choose what to do without doubt, we can't choose ourselves. Think about that. Unless we are who we are because we choose to be. But when confronted with conflicting choices, or either or a double bind, this is important. A double bind is a choice where if you choose, you're damned if you do this or damned if you do that. So you get this, wah, wah, wah. You can't choose. And if I can't choose, I can't choose myself. But when I transcend the double bind and I discover true nature, I know what to do. And I choose myself then. There's no more division in myself or the world. So let's continue with that thread. And the inner guru says, the labyrinth is your own mind. You are the world and the world is you. So our little hero here is discovering that the labyrinth is not out there, but it's in here. And they are both the same. They reflect each other. And don't forget that you can get all of my talks on To Kill a Minotaur, which is my blog. So let's pick up our story now. And I'm also combining, for those that are you just coming in, my own personal story of being in a submarine. So now we've got layers of story here, all of which are interrelated. And we left our little submariner off the other day when he was pinged by, when he was in the submarines, he discovered Thomas Merton. And Thomas, and you know, a sonarman can hear pings from a destroyer. Well, I was pinged by Thomas Merton, who was in a Trappist monastery. I just noticed that TM, Trappist Monastery, and Thomas Merton are the same. And this awakened my soul, or my Theseus, and the desire for the journey. And my inner guru said, it's going to be rough out there. And he said, I'll live in two worlds. And I'm discovering that there are two worlds, or two laws going on for a submarine. When a submarine is on the surface, it operates under the laws of the surface ships. It doesn't want to sink because that's death. But when the submarine becomes undersea craft, there's a whole different set of laws going on, you see. And so there are two worlds that the submarine has to learn to live in. And so does Theseus, our hero soul. We have to learn the two laws of the surface and the deep. And we're going to look a little more into that today. Okay. We're going to look at the surface world, where each of us is a little ship, and we get seasick, and we travel in fleets. Religion, philosophy, political parties, family, any group, anything that groups us is like a fleet. And during World War II, the convoys would, the merchant ships got into fleets in order to make the crossing of the ocean to protect themselves from the submarines. So fleets are designed to protect the individual sheep. And, well, that's a good slip. Sheep get in a herd for protection because the wolf can't really select anyone out. The same with zebra. Zebras get in a herd in order to protect themselves from the lion because he gets confused. Should I choose that one or that one? And while he's deciding which one to choose, they've moved on. So the fleet creates a double bind in the predator so he can't choose, and they escape. That's the logic behind it. So we on the surface world get into fleets, and here's our little man up here on the what we can assume is the Titanic, and he says, I'm king of the world. Everything is smooth, the ocean's beautiful, but then a rub happens. Somebody insults him, somebody says something, there's something in the world happens that doesn't fit his plan, he's off course, something has screwed up his expectations, there's a rub with the world. And now the ripples start, and thoughts and emotions come in. This shouldn't be this way. This is not the way it should be. It should be calm now. Why is this rough here? Who's to blame for the rough sea? I'm getting sick. Who's to blame, you see? And so now we're getting into the oscillations of the mind. Now this is what we could say is the law of the surface mind. Now the surface mind is our conscious mind that is in relationship with the world as things. There's me, and there's you, and there's world, and there's room, and there's this board, and then there's my thoughts and my feelings you need. But all of this is I, and everything else is it, whether it's in my mind or whether it's outside. So we call this I, it, you see. And when I, it has a rub, there's going to be an oscillation, like when you throw a rock into a pond. There's going to be a ripple. And unless we can understand the laws of the oscillating mind, the ripple is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, like when you stick a microphone in front of an amplifier and it goes wah, 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 and you say, shut it off, you see. And so this is a kind of like a description of the wah, 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 which we end up at, which we call a panic attack. But this will go wah, wah, wah until something intervenes. Something has to break it up. In the same way that if you have a ripple in a pond, If you stick something in there, you break up the ripple. Otherwise, the ripple goes out, hits the edge of the pond, comes back, and you start going wow, 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 like that. So you break it up, see how? So we're interested right now in getting a metaphorical grasp that the mind, when it begins to oscillate, creates pain, creates suffering. And when everything is fine and the world is calm, there's no pain, there's no oscillation, but there is very subtle oscillation called anxiety. So the surface mind has a basic anxiety which it believes is normal. It's only when the anxiety is rubbed that it begins to oscillate, and now we say, this is not normal, somebody is doing this to me. Either the world is doing it, or I'm doing it to myself. I blame myself, or I blame the world, or some person, or conditions, or something. Something has to be to blame for this oscillation of pain, you see. And the reason it keeps oscillating is because I'm looking for the cause in the wrong place. I'm looking for the cause in the wrong place. So it continues, and you notice an oscillation is a sine wave. A mountain and a valley, a crest and a valley, a sine wave. There's an up and there's a down. There's a good and bad. There's a right and wrong. There's a has and has not. There's either or. There's a winner and a loser, you see. So it begins to oscillate, and we can name these, the feeling of this oscillation, we name. But what we're trying to see here is that the pattern or the formula for the oscillation is a law, and then when we experience the oscillation, we give it a name. We can give it a psychological name like anxiety or confusion or self-doubt or anger or grief. We have all these names for these, but it's all negative. This negative, but you also see that the negative and the positive and the negative is the same oscillation. So if I have something, I finally get something, I feel great. But then in a day, a few minutes, the balloon pops and now I don't have it. It died. Or I'm bored with it. Or what else is there? So every peak turns into a valley because it's moving, you see. It's a roller coaster ride in an amusement park of life, but we don't see it because we're in the car. When you're riding in the roller coaster, you can't see the whole roller coaster. So what we're interested in here is asking the question, is there a place where I can see the roller coaster ride or the oscillation while I'm still in it? After it's over, after you have a fight with your brother-in-law, and then you get into an oscillation and it ends up in either you hug him or you shoot him or knock him out, you see. After that, you say, oh, I'll never do that again. I really saw, why did that happen again? This Groundhog Day, why does this keep happening? So I make a vow never to do that again. And sure enough, the next time you get together at some family meeting, something rubs, something happens here and causes a rub. And the next thing you know it, you're both on that roller coaster again, oscillating, wow, 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 until somebody comes in to try and intervene and break it up. So this happens all the time in small or large oscillations. It can be a small oscillation. I have them all the time. Like when I can't open up some new box or some new package or something, and I get into an oscillation of it just can't open it up. I opened up this talk with the oscillation I discovered with putting the battery in the blower. So I was trying to jam this battery into the blower. Can't do it. I can't. Somebody was watching me. Can't do it. I was oscillating. How do you get this fit? Darn it. So I told my friend to leave because watching causes an oscillation. As soon as he left, I picked up the hedge clipper and put the battery in that. I was trying to put the battery in in the blower instead of the hedge clipper. But I mean, I do it all the time, but we can see these all the time. these little oscillations that either somebody else breaks up, or we exhaust ourselves in it, or we see through it and break it up. Oh, I see what I was doing, boom. Whenever you see whenever you see the oscillation, the seeing ends the oscillation. So using that little example of the putting the battery in the wrong blower, as soon as the other left, the other who was freezing me in my oscillation, the other was, in my mind, the oscillation is created when another freezes me in an oscillation of the mind. For instance, if suddenly I became stage struck and I became aware that you are watching me, and I would feel myself objectified by your watching me, I would not know what to say next. I would go blah, blah, blah. I would have a mind freeze. Then I would be shamed and embarrassed, and I would never do it again, you see. But because I'm in my center now, your watching me does not freeze me in an oscillation of fright, and I'm able to speak from my center to you as a center, instead of to you as somebody who is objectifying me. We can watch this go on all the time. Lovers do not like to be looked at, because when people see lovers in their little private ghetto, like in the Tristan and Isolde, the lover's ghetto, the lover's privacy, when somebody comes in and looks at them, they turn and look, and they don't want to be objectified because they're taken out of their oneness, you see. And the same with grief. I discovered when I was a newspaper photographer that you had to be very careful when you photographed family that was grieving. Somebody was just killed, somebody just died, and you come up and stick your camera in front of them and take a picture of them, they could turn on you and tear you apart. They don't want to be objectified, you see. Nobody does. So anyway, we're getting back to this idea of the mind. When it's peaceful, we're king of the world, until suddenly something rubs us, and a storm goes, and what the oscillating mind wants to do is to make everything, just to have, the oscillating mind wants to cut the sine wave, the mind wants to cut the sine wave and have only the top half. I want everything to be good, to be right. I want to have everything. I want to be a winner. I want it back the way it was. But the other half of the sine wave, the bad, the wrong, the has not, and the loser, cannot be eliminated because it's one sine wave. So what the mind does is take this half and project it out there and throw it on the blame on that which it sees is causing the ripple. This is very clear if we can just get a view or a grasp of it from where? From the deep. The stillness of now, or the wisdom mind, is like the submarine that is underneath the surface mind. From here, from this stillness, the wisdom mind can see the whole sine wave. And when you see the whole wave, that the good and the bad, this and that, me and the other is one, the oscillation stops. The oscillation stops, or begins to dissolve. These are conditioned habit formations of our mind. It's called karma, and they have the same inertia that a tractor trailer has. If it's going along a highway and you take your foot off the gas, in other words, you stop feeding it, the truck takes a while to come to a stop. So karma takes a while to come to a stop when we take as soon as we see it, we take the foot off the gas and we're no longer in it, running back and forth, trying to end it from the inside. We see it from the outside in one totality, one grasp, one aha. We see it and we get the energy of joy and creativity from the energy that was used up and exhausted in the oscillation. That immediately goes to wisdom, creativity, and the feeling of being okay. However, on this path, the oscillation will come back again and again and again, but each time it comes back, we welcome it because it gives us another opportunity to see it in its new form. So everything is a practice. Everything is a practice to see the oscillations of my mind, which is the world. And this is the big idea. The last thing we can say is the GP, our inner guru, tells our little soul, you are the one without a second. And the one without a second means that you are the world and the world is you. But this is two worlds here that are one. The law of the deep, of the ocean, is that the ocean is one, but at the same time, on the surface of the ocean is many waves. So we are one wave and many waves, but at the same time, we are the ocean and the ocean is us. You are the world and the world is you is the same as saying you are the ocean is the ocean, but at the same time, you are many. I'm speaking to you as one, yet you are many. You see. So let us stop there and contemplate this oscillation of the mind, the OS, the operating system of the mind. We all understand that with computers. The mind, the surface mind, the conscious mind operates under this oscillating system, and it is our soul destiny to dive beneath the surface, to run silent and run deep, and see the whole operation of the mind from a viewpoint of stillness that is not oscillating. And this deep stillness can be activated and can be practiced and can become our permanent dwelling place. So thank you very much. I hope you find some Buddhas in your landfill today. Thank you.